Hello, parents. Welcome to a somewhat strange curriculum night. My name is Mrs. Graves, and I am either your child's math teacher, social studies teacher, or both. You can see here my contact information. My email is mgraves1@psd202.org. If you happen to also work in the district, when you search for my name, it would come up Melissa M. Graves. So don't forget the M so you could find me there. My phone number is 815-577-4950, but email is obviously a lot easier of a way for us to get back and not just keep playing phone tag. So we can kind of start with email, and then if we want to talk on the phone, set up a time that works for both of us. So a little bit about who I am. I have my undergrad in elementary education from the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign. I have a master's degree in curriculum instruction from National Louis University. This is actually I've finished 12 years at Droughton Point, so this is my 13th year working at Droughton Point. I live in Aurora with my husband, my 2.5-year-old son, and our two cats. So you can see some of pictures of my family here on the slide. And in my free time, I like to read, bake cupcakes, and take pictures. So that's just a little bit about who I am as a person. Some procedures that you should know. In the Google Classroom, your child will see the week that's assigned with assignments that are underneath it. When it says Tuesday, that means we're going to start working on that assignment on Tuesday. And then over here is going to tell you where the due date is. So this one would have been due September 2nd at 9 a.m. There's going to be two main symbols that you'll see when you look in Google Classroom. One of them is this symbol that looks like a clipboard with writing on it, and that's an assignment. So those are things that your child needs to complete and then turn in. The other one that looks like this with the little square with a bookmark on it is a material. So those are just extra resources to help them. So it might be a video, it might be instructions to something, just other materials that they need to use to complete something, but they don't necessarily have to do anything to turn it in. If the assignment is through a Google product, like say through Google Slides, when they do go to turn in one of these assignments, there'll be a button that says turn in. If it's not, so it's through a website that is outside of Google Classroom or not a Google product, then they'll see a mark is done. And so when they press those two buttons, they're able to press those buttons whether or not they have finished the assignment at all. So I tell the kids that those two buttons are kind of like checking things off in their agenda book. Now, could you not do something and cross it off in your agenda book? Sure, that's the same thing as pressing those buttons when your assignment's not done. Could you also have things on your list in your agenda book that you did finish and you forgot to cross off? Sure. So sometimes something might be saying it's missing, but it's actually not. It's just that we haven't pressed the turn in or the mark is done button there. So your best place to look for information is going to be to go to Google or to go to Home Access Center. So in the gradebook, looking in Home Access Center, that's what you're going to look for. Big things to notice in the gradebook. Obviously, if there's a number, that's the grade that they have. If it is empty, it just means it's not graded yet. So let's say that it's a bigger project or something like that, and I want to go in and I want to mark who doesn't have it done so those parents know, but it's going to take me a couple days to finish grading the whole thing. That's why you might see an empty in the gradebook. So it doesn't mean there's anything bad with it. It's just that I'm still working on grading it. If you do see an NHI, that means that it's not handed in. So either your child was absent, it was late, whatever. They still have a chance to complete it, but it's still something that they need to take care of. I try to update every couple of days going through missing work and all that, but obviously if your child, thinks that something's turned in and it says NHI, then that would be a great opportunity for them to email and to have a conversation with me so we can try to figure out, what's going on and what needs to happen with all that there. So that's kind of some of the basic ideas of procedures that we have within Google Classroom within Home Access Center. If you only have me or your child only has me for social studies, you can kind of skip ahead until you see the video say social studies. But for math, you can see kind of the basic units of study that we're going to do this year. The big thing to notice are really this unit 2 and 3 with the numbers and operations. One of our big skills this year is to really add how to use negative numbers into their knowledge of computation. This also is the last year in math that your child will directly have a unit where they're taught computation. So after seventh grade math, they would be expected in their future math courses to be able to add, subtract, multiply, and divide all rational numbers. So positive and negative integers, so just whole numbers, positive and negative fractions, decimals, you name it, that's kind of the end. It's not to say that the teachers later on won't stop and do a little bit of review, but the direct instruction of it finishes after seventh grade. So if your child is not confident with their computation, that would be something that I would highly recommend that you do a little practice on the side, even if you just put flashcards, next to the toilet so that they have something to do while they're going, or in the car while you're trying to drive from one place to another, that they have something like that. That's going to really benefit them for the future because obviously you can do higher level math without being able to do the computation part, but it just makes everything that much harder. With being remote, one of the challenges that we have with math is how students are able to show their work and explain their thinking, because obviously there are certain symbols in math that are hard, that don't appear on our keyboard that we might want, or just in general kind of showing our work. So we're going to talk about with the kids and kind of train them with a couple of different ways that they can use to show their work, whether they want to do it on a piece of paper, they want to try to type it out, or they want to actually use the touchscreen part of their computer. So on here I put totally optional, don't have to do it at all, but if you want for your child, you could do a stylus so that they're able to write on their computer a little bit more clearly and easily. It doesn't have to be expensive. I have one that's on the back of a pen that came free in a pack, so and it works just as well as the, more expensive type there, so nothing fancy there, but that might be something that would help them while they're remote if they like the idea of showing their work on the computer screen. In social studies, so again, if you are a student who only has, or your child only has me for math, you can go ahead and skip to the next part. But in social studies, this year, we start with the beginning of American history. So we start from making colonies in what will become the United States, and then into the basics of expanding our new nation, what happens with some of the first early presidents, and some of the challenges that come up after we establish our government there and what happens. Generally, in the past, it is a state requirement that the students take a constitution test. We still haven't heard, what's going to happen with it this year, obviously, so we're in a little different situation. But if you remember it from when you were back in school, it is a little different in that we don't do it in one giant test. We break it into a couple pieces. And we usually require a 70% passing as we go through and do it. So we will learn about the Constitution regardless, and then as it gets closer, obviously, it's a couple of units away till we get to the Constitution that will let you know what we hear about what the requirements are going to be for this year. But just so you know, that's on the horizon. So far, though, everyone who's done it has been able to pass it there, so not super worried with it. But it is a great time to really talk to your students about study skills because they usually take it a little more seriously since it's the state requirement and end up doing really well usually. And a lot of times they do a lot better on this part of the year than they do on the other parts there. And so it's a nice time to be like, hey, that studying really pays off. So a good time to make those connections. So in general, helping your child, checking Home Access Center with them is going to be important. You and they should have separate logins, so you each have a way to log in. You could go either place there, but kind of going through things and having those conversations. Your child can email me with their concerns, and they have been trained about how to email, I think, in their science classes. But if you want to still be in the loop, then have them CC you on it, so show them what that means with your email, so then you're still a part of it, but they're initiating that communication. Obviously, helping your child with any study habits if they aren't independent yet, and then you can keep checking from emails from me as well to know kind of what's going on. So that's just a few things to kind of help out there, but obviously, as we are in a new situation with remote learning, if there are other questions you have, other concerns, other things that we need to work out, then let me know, let us know, and we'll see what we can figure out to try to help your child be successful. In 7th grade, one big special thing, obviously we don't know if it will happen this year, is outdoor ed. It usually happens in April. We go to a YMCA camp and the kids participate in a lot of the activities. You can see some of them are pictured on the slide there. They eat breakfast or they eat lunch there, they eat dinner there. And it's a really cool trip. The reason I put it out here is just to keep it on your radar in case we are back and able to do this activity, because it does usually run about $65. So it's something to start saving for a little ahead of time uh, if it is something that looks like it's going to be able to happen for us. So fingers crossed, because it is a really cool trip that your children will have the opportunity to participate in it this year. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me to ask them, and I will do my best to answer them or to find someone who can help you. But otherwise, I am looking forward to a fantastic year with your children. So far, they have worked really hard. They have figured out how to use the technology, how to ask questions, how to do the things that they need to do. So they should be really proud of themselves for what they've done so far, and we're excited to see where they're going to go.